Joining us now is OG Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning? Perfect. Good morning, Tundu. How are you?
Good morning.
Great.
Thank you.
Good morning, Rufai.
Excellent, Red. Lady in red.
Yes, I'm the lady in red today. Well,
Can I sing this one?
No.
Just kidding.
Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In Russia, Marina Ovsyannikova, the heroic anti-war protester who interrupted a live news show to denounce the country's invasion of Ukraine, has miraculously avoided a jail sentence. Marina, instead, was handed a £210 fine on Tuesday, which came as a major surprise to many commentators who harbored concerns that she could face up to 15 years in prison under a new Kremlin law which punishes public dissemination of false information about the invasion of Ukraine. In India, a high court ruled on Tuesday against the wearing of hijab in colleges, stating that it is not an essential principle of Islam, in a setback to Muslim students who were demanding the right to wear the headscarf. In Karnataka, South India, the state government has imposed a ban on large gatherings this week, fearing unrest over the ruling. Under sports, Steve Simon, the head of the Women's Tennis Association, announced on Tuesday that individual athletes should not be penalized for decisions of an authoritarian leadership amid concerns that players from Russia and Belarus will be blocked from competing in tournaments. And Atletico Madrid knocked Manchester United out of the Champions League on Tuesday and moved into the quarterfinals after a 41st minute header from Brazilian left-back Renan Lodi gave them a 1-0 win at Old Trafford. Finally, under entertainment, Anna Sorokin, the convicted swindler whose fictionalized story inspired the hit TV show Inventing Anna on Netflix, is making a new bid to fight deportation. The 31-year-old managed in 2016 and 2017 to deceive New York's elite by posing as a wealthy German heiress while carrying out scams of over $200,000 under the assumed name of Anna Delvey. She was jailed in 2019 and sentenced to between 4 and 12 years in prison. She was released in February 2021 for good behavior, but was detained by immigration authorities in New York on charges of overstaying her visa.
She put it all on my card. Give me back that money, please.
Why are you being like this? So dramatic.
Well, let's begin what's trending. As the month of March highlights gender inequality and the celebration of women's achievements, Google's Doodle today celebrates the life of Nigerian educator, ceramicist, glassworker, and potter, Ladi Dosei Kwali. Ladi was born around 1925 to a family of potters in Kwali, Abuja. Her aunt taught her pottery during her childhood, which she later refined into her own style. Ladi helped introduce the international community to the beauty of Nigerian art through her designs, and her works were featured in exhibitions across Europe and America through the 1960s. On March 16, 2017, an exhibition of her work opened at the Scoto Gallery in New York. Ladi received a doctorate from the Ahmadu Bello University in 1977 and the Nigerian National Order of Merit Award in 1980 in honor of her contributions. She is remembered today with each exchange of Nigeria's 20 Naira note, the first and only Nigerian currency to feature a woman. As we continue to celebrate Nigerians across the fields, here is a video of Nigerian air women celebrated on International Women's Day.
I'm especially delighted to recognize the pivotal role women have continued to play in nation building, which is significant towards achieving equitable, peaceful, and more prosperous society.
I am Air Commodore Halima Lami Musa. I am the Director of Catering Services and the most senior female general in the Nigerian Air Force and first in my specialty.
I am Group Captain Susan Ochai, a chartered quantity surveyor and the first female double dagger in the Nigerian Armed Forces.
I am Squadron Leader Antonia Igbudiobi, a legal officer at the headquarters Nigerian Air Force, an internationally civil military certified expert, author of 2 books, and mother of 3 boys.
I am Squadron Leader Blessing Liman, first female pilot of the Nigerian Air Force.
I am Flight Lieutenant GC Nwogugu. I am my cosmate Flight Lieutenant OS Ijelu. We are the first female regular combatant pilots, and I'm also the second female captain on the King Air 350. I want to thank the Nigerian Air Force for giving us an enabling environment to achieve our desired goals.
Tundu Abiola, we will not stop celebrating women. How impressive was that? Those women, there were more of them. I just couldn't, have all of the videos of all of their achievements. But I love the fact that the Nigerian Air Force celebrated our women the way that they did this March 8th. But I also wanted to talk about Ladi Kwali.
Yeah, that was like what I woke up to this morning, her Google Doodle, and I fancied myself as a potter when I was in school. So I've always really admired Ladi Kwali, and for me, she represents 2 marginalized groups: women and the indigenous people that belong to Abuja, because everybody talks about Abuja as no man's land. That is actually a lie. There are actually people who are originally from there who are marginalized and treated quite unfairly. So it's important that we have elevated a person of her caliber to national prominence, but we need to show more respect to the indigents of Abuja. And secondly, the other thing that she represents to me is her artistry, her talent, her brilliance had to be recognized by a white man, Michael Cardew. If not for him, she probably would have gone unrecognized. So this is the problem with a lot of what we have in Africa in terms of our art, even our religions, even our beauty. We fail to see it because we look through everything through that white is right prism. And it takes white people appreciating us before we appreciate ourselves. So that's what she represents to me, and she was a great Nigerian, and I'm glad that she was celebrated the way she was this morning by Google. And with regards to the Air Force, I love that video. I had all the feels watching that. And I love that at the end they showed these Nigerian Amazons with their children. Yeah. So you can do it all. It was so inspiring. You don't have to sacrifice your family on the altar of your career. These women are complete role models.
Absolutely. Rufai.
And I'm really proud, and thank you so much, Tundu and Audrey, and I keep celebrating you. You are great women and role models in your own right. And I must say thank you so much for bringing up the story of Ladi Kwali, because she's a big source of inspiration for all of us in this country. And she's been represented on the Naira note. I feel we can still do a whole lot more. Many places are named after Ladi Kwali, hotel halls and the likes and things like that. And most importantly, I think one of the biggest recognition and one of the in-your-face recognition came when President Clinton visited in the early 2000s in this country. And he had to make a deliberate effort. I mean, I remember that video when President Clinton and his daughter Chelsea went to Kwali village to see where Ladi Kwali started from. And because of the work of Ladi Kwali, they've built a big pottery industry in Kwali village. And he went, and I think he even got some works when President Clinton visited Nigeria. So if it takes, the leader of the free world to come and respect what we have here and celebrate and appreciate us, the question is, what are we doing internally? And that's why we must support women, we must support people in art, and most importantly, we must support everything that is made out of Nigeria and belongs to Nigeria. And I know, for good measure, I'd like to see a day where people can collect some of her pieces, some of her pottery pieces. I know it will cost an arm and a leg now because of what she represents. But if we can collect them and put them in national place of symbolism, it's really very important. Because, see, we need to push this narrative about ourselves. Why? Because the West too has pushed this narrative of white is nice, to be able to make us look down on our culture. And I keep going back to the likes of the Gobinus of this world that wrote books about racism and why the black race was inferior. But we need to fight back and push this good narrative, because black is beautiful, and black and proud, women are great, and like the video for the Air Force video, we can do great in society, and women too can raise children and also, fight and defend their nation, and they should be treated properly. And the first conversation should begin with equal pay.
I love that, Rufai. Equal pay.
Okay, Ladi Kwali. I think it's important that we're celebrating Ladi Kwali and also celebrating women in the Nigerian Air Force in the context of a whole month that has been devoted to the celebration of women, the month of March. International Women's Day was on March 8th, but it's the entire month that is for the celebration of women. And it's just as well that Google has chosen to do a doodle, to celebrate one of the major contributors to the evolution of Nigerian culture and artistry. Now, we have a long list of women who have distinguished themselves with regard to the growth of culture and arts in Nigeria, and even politics, okay? It's Ladi Kwali that we're celebrating today, but there is a long list from Queen Amina to Gamba Sawabo, to Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, to Flora Mwakwa, to Kufu Ademola, to Margaret Ekpo in politics. So Adetun Ogunsheye, first female professor, and quite a long list. And we also have even the younger generation, what's your friend's name, who was the first person to win Miss World from Nigeria? Agbani Darego.
Yes.
So you see all of these women who have done very well. And it's a subtle reminder. And of course, in more contemporary times, you have Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and others like that to remind Nigerians that this country, that has a population of 49% men, 51% women, cannot operate at a lower capacity. Okay? If you do not recognize women, then of course you are cheating yourself. And which is why it is unfortunate that we are celebrating this this year's International Women's Day, Women of the Month, Month for the Women, against the background of the National Assembly of Nigeria taking a completely unrealistic, retrogressive step in shooting down 5 bills that could have centered on the empowerment of women and the recognition of the importance of women in this country. Bills relating to citizenship, indigenship, and affirmative action, and also women representation specifically. And then, of course, to go back to Ladi Kwali, born in 1925, right, she was a superstar in her chosen field of distinction. And that is why, she represents a good example for Nigerian women. Whatever may be your field, you can excel through hard work, industry, commitment. In 1963, she was given the MBE, by the empire, by the British Empire at that time. The sun has since set on the empire. The Nigerian government later gave her the OON. In 1977, she was awarded a doctoral degree by Ahmadu Bello University. In 1980, the Nigerian government, appreciating her hard work and her excellence, gave her the Nigerian National Merit of Order of Merit, the NOOM. So beyond everything else, she's a great example for other women, including the woman that is a hairdresser. Just excel at it. Yes. Even if you are selling pepper soup, just make sure you give people like me very fine pepper soup.
Pepper soup and jollof rice.
Just excel, yes, and jollof rice. Just do it well. Apply yourself. And I guess the same lesson, is also for men, because this is a woman of distinction. Many years after her death, she's still being celebrated.
Yes.
That's the great message there, in my view.
Congratulations. All to women, right? We'll take another story. Many Nigerians have reacted to the federal government's announcement that it will use $2.2 billion of the fund raised via Eurobond to cater for petrol under recovery costs. The Minister of Budget and Finance, National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, made the announcement while speaking with news agency Reuters on the sidelines of an Arab-African conference in Cairo, Egypt. The minister also stated that the government will target more local borrowing in 2022 to fund subsidy payments. Well, let's take some reactions. This is from Chukwuemeka, who wrote, Minister of Borrowing. Auntie, the debt is becoming too much for our children yet unborn to pay, ma'am. Quick solution. 1, let's integrate the illegal refineries producing fuel in the Niger Delta. 2, marshal out a team of engineers and discuss on how to set up modular refineries. Well, Abdullahi wrote, honestly, the borrowing rate of this administration is worrisome. How do we account for the amount paid for subsidies when we don't know the cost of refining and importing oil to Nigeria or the average daily consumption of oil in the country? Well, Frank wrote, Auntie, Nigeria will soon be blacklisted. This borrowing is getting out of hand. I'm not sure why, whenever you make an appearance in the news, it's about more borrowing. The future of the unborn child has been mortgaged by you. Poor lady, she really has come under fire again. Yeah. Rufai, over to you.
You know, when I saw this, I'm like, are you kidding me? I just want to think it's not true. I pray it's not true that the Eurobonds we got, we want to use it, we want to waste it. In fact, we want to burn it. You know what it means when you burn money? That's what we want to do. Because this subsidy should not be there in the first place. This administration, not my words, promised they were going to build refineries. I think it's time Nigerians hold politicians when they come and say their manifesto or flowery language. Promised you were going to build refineries. But it's almost wrapping up now. We've not been able to build refineries. You just approved turnaround maintenance for Port Harcourt refinery. Nothing is done. This thing is not rocket science. The Port Harcourt refinery that we're turning around, a company, BP, built it in '65 in this country before the federal government expanded it. Why are we paying subsidy? Because we can't refine what we have. So what are the solutions? We need to build refineries. So the next administration must look for how to build a refinery. Because when you put the money, the 2.2, part of the 2.2 billion, or the money we spend on subsidies, we can actually get a refinery working. Secondly, we need to stop crude oil theft. That's a big problem. Crude oil theft is taking away most of our resources in this country. That's why we can't really account for what we're making. Thirdly, we need to support modular refineries and look for how we can, make a deal with them for them to be able to produce petrol. Because you see, there are modular refineries working in this country, but on the grand scale of things, it doesn't pay them when they produce petrol. So they rather produce diesel where they can make more money, where the market is deregulated. And that's why they talk about the regulation and subsidy removal comes in again. Most importantly, and fourthly on this, if we improve power generation in this country, we would remove the burden on the need to be able to use petrol, energy, and some other forms. So you need to try as much as possible, improve power generation, improve alternative sources like CNG gas and the likes, and let this economy move. This country is great. It has no problem being poor and being stuck on its knees like this.
Well, for me, the issue is a lot larger than anybody's auntie, as they were calling her. If you recall, she was the one who came out to say that this President Muhammadu Buhari administration is going to finally end fuel subsidy. And she was instantly contradicted by her colleagues in the government until she now had to climb down from that position. So we all know how that went. So whatever her lapses or her feelings are really not the issue. The issue is, as you have pointed out, much larger. Well, you, Rufai, have pointed out much larger than an individual. It's a systemic issue. And it does start, like you said, Rufai, from the issue of campaign manifestos and the fact that they are not worth the paper they're printed on. And it's got nothing to do with nascent democracy or how long we've had democracy. It's all about integrity. I always use David Cameron, and he's not my favorite politician, as an example, because he committed to a referendum, which even he did not support. He ensured that he did it. You cannot jettison your campaign promises. It's completely unacceptable. And we, the people, just sit back and tolerate it. And now I wonder, now that this Eurobond, we got the Eurobond to fund certain projects. Now that money is going to be diverted to fund what? Consumption. Like you said, it's been burnt, literally. What do the labor unions have to say about it? And this is going to continue for the 18 months that the Muhammadu Buhari administration has kicked this down the can to the next administration. We are in such a deep hole. This is completely unacceptable as an option out of this.
Yeah, a lot of people have complained about this.
In September 2021, the Nigerian government raised $4.4 billion Eurobond, okay? Now the minister is telling us she was attending a conference, the Arab African Conference in Cairo, and she was speaking to Reuters when she made this claim that now out of that 4.4 billion, we're going to spend $2.2 billion, right, to fund what is called under recovery. And okay, I think she can be given a little credit for being honest this time around, because it looks like we're completely helpless in the matter.
Yeah.
She made a point that higher price of crude oil internationally would translate into higher subsidy for Nigeria. In the 2022 budget, the government of Nigeria had planned to spend 3 trillion naira on subsidy. The initial cutoff point was July this year, but then they had to extend it by 18 months. And now, it's not just this Eurobond, it's not just the $2.2 billion that the auntie is talking about. They are also going to raise funds from local borrowing.
Yeah.
So we're in a very dire strait. Now, I hope Governor Peter Obi will show up sometime because he talks about this borrowing. He says, okay, borrowing is not a problem in itself, but we're borrowing to fund inefficiency. That is the problem. And if we're going to borrow money just to fund the subsidy, not to fund the hospitals, so to keep our leaders here, to have state-of-the-art hospitals, not to fund the education system, but to pay subsidy, then that's a perfect illustration of the Nigerian tragedy. Because that 2.2 billion alone is going to be higher than that. And that means, of course, we have issues. Labor, organized labor. I'd always talked about getting the refineries to work, right? But these refineries have refused to work. Do you know that the minister herself confessed that we need to start local production of finished products, from crude oil? Okay, is she just realizing that at this time? And even this refining that we are talking about, a recent report by the Office of the Auditor General of Nigeria says that, look, over time, we cannot even account for over 117 million barrels of crude oil. Now, where did that disappear to? This is a story that is out there. And that's the Auditor General asking the NNPC and other subsidiaries to come and account for over 117 billion. The NNPC that did that is now defunct. So will over 117 million barrels of crude oil just disappear into thin air?
Oh, Lord. Oh, no.
So, this is just a description of the challenge that we face in this country. And that is why leadership is so important. It was Chinua Achebe that said the problem of Nigeria is leadership. Yes, it may have been so in 1980, 1981. It is even more urgently so now, and will be even more urgent in 2023. And that is why it's a great embarrassment that the political parties and their candidates or their aspirants are more focused on their own personal ego rather than the interests of Nigeria. Maybe we should add this to one of those issues, that should be part of the debate as we move towards 2023, because often campaigns in Nigeria are never issue-oriented. It's always about where this person comes from, whether you're a member of this church or you are a leader in that particular mosque. This time around, organized civil society should insist that we should focus on the issues.
Well said, Dr. Abadi. Thank you all for your beautiful analysis. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow.